to purchase suppressors and other firearm accessories. However, this system was taken down.
3-round burst or semi-automatic. Those firearms are not allowed for purchase in the United States today.
The noise from the rifle, he can't stand it. And so I've started trying to get a suppressor. I want to tell you that in 2013, ATF launched an electronic program for firearm owners.
Mr. Deutsch asked you about gun manufacturer liability, and I wanted to follow up and ask, does the recent Pennsylvania decision...
They should be respected.
Reclaiming my time, so Mr. Chairman, I'd like 40 seconds
I've seen my constituents die in battle.
The government is interfering with me being able to get a suppressor by delaying.
Texas Suppressor's Freedom Lawsuit. Imagine the Lone Star State as the battleground for a high-stakes showdown against federal suppressor rules. Enter the Texas Suppressor's Freedom Lawsuit, a gutsy move aiming to kick ATF NFA regulations out the door, but only within Texas borders. This ain't your average legal tango, it's a heated clash between Lone Star pride and federal oversight. At the heart of this legal wrangle stands Texas House Bill 957, the hero of the state's rebellion against federal suppressor restrictions. This bold bill essentially waves a flag declaring, hey, if these silencers are born and bred in Texas and never set a toe outside state lines, they ain't subject to Uncle Sam's rules. But as you can imagine, the feds weren't too keen on this Lone Star defiance. Cue the warning letters from the ATF, sounding the alarm about enforcing those federal regulations on these Texas-born suppressors. That's when things got spicy. Texas didn't just tip their hats and back down. No, sir! They rallied the troops, rounded up a posse of individual plaintiffs, and marched straight to the courthouse, waving their lawsuit high and proud. Take that, ATF, they seemed to shout. The lawsuit, spearheaded by the Lone Star State and backed by these individual players, packed a punch. Their beef? The ATF's threat to enforce those pesky federal rules on homegrown Texas suppressors. They argued that Texas-made suppressors should be exempt from the whole NFA GCA song and dance, thank you very much. It's a classic David versus Goliath story, with Texas slinging legal challenges instead of stones. They're not just questioning federal oversight, they're flexing their legal muscle, claiming that what happens within their borders is their business alone. This ain't just a legal tug of war, it's a battle of principles. Texas is throwing down the gauntlet, asserting their right to regulate what's born and raised in their backyard. And now, it's up to the courts to decide if Lone Star pride can stand tall against Uncle Sam's regulatory might. It's a Lone Star standoff, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Texas come out on top, or will federal regulations continue to reign supreme? Guess we'll have to wait for the legal dust to settle.
To purchase suppressors and other firearm accessories. However, this system was taken down.
3-round burst or semi-automatic. Those firearms are not allowed for purchase in the United States today.
The noise from the rifle, he can't stand it. And so I've started trying to get a suppressor. I want to tell you that in 2013, ATF launched an electronic program for firearm owners.
Mr. Deutsch asked you about gun manufacturer liability, and I wanted to follow up and ask, does the recent Pennsylvania decision...
District court dismissal based on standing. Picture this, a courtroom drama where the judge slams the gavel down, but not in favor of the Lone Star rebels. Yep, that's what happened when this Texas suppressor's freedom case landed in front of a federal judge. The room might as well have been filled with tumbleweeds, because the judge shut it down faster than you can say objection. The issue? Standing. No, not standing like the lawyers do when they're arguing their case. Standing as in having the right to even bring the case to the table. The judge was clear as day. No standing, no case. Now, to have a leg to stand on in court, pun intended, you need a few things. First up, a concrete injury. Something real, not just a what-if scenario. Then there's causation, meaning that there has to be a clear link between that injury and whoever you're pointing the legal finger at. Lastly, redressability, proof that the court's decision could fix that injury. But, oops, the plaintiffs in this Texas showdown didn't quite hit the mark. The judge wanted something tangible, something solid to sink their legal teeth into. Instead, it was all hypotheticals and maybes. They didn't show a real injury caused by the ATF's actions, leaving the judge with no choice but to send them packing. It's like trying to build a house without a foundation. Sure, you can put up walls and a roof, But without that solid base, it's all just a house of cards waiting to collapse. So the judge didn't buy the Lone Star Crew's argument. They didn't prove they were directly harmed or that the ATF's actions caused that harm. It was all smoke and mirrors, legal style. In the end, the judge's gavel came down hard, dismissing the case faster than you can say objection sustained. Without that standing, it was game over. But hold on to your cowboy hats, because the Lone Star Rebels weren't ready to ride off into the sunset just yet. They had one more card up their sleeve, an appeal to a higher court. And that's where the real legal showdown was about to begin.
They should be respected.
Reclaiming my time. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like 40 seconds
I've seen
back on
my
the clock.
constituents die in battle.
The government is interfering with me being able to get a suppressor by delaying.
There's a hearing that you can't be at, your counsel can't be present, you haven't been charged with the crime.
We all want to keep children safe in school, but this bill wouldn't do that. This bill is just another Democrat attack on the Second Amendment.
Texas appeals to Fifth Circuit Court. Y'all thought the Lone Star Showdown was over? Not by a long shot. Texas ain't backing down from this legal tussle. They dusted themselves off, saddled up, and galloped straight to the next stop on the legal train, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Yep, that's right. The Lone Star State ain't taking that district court decision lying down. They're flinging their case right into the ring of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, hoping for a different tune to be sung. Their battle plan? Challenge the district court's ruling on standing. That was the Achilles heel of their case, the reason it got the boot faster than a rattlesnake in July. But Texas ain't having none of it. They're aiming their legal guns at that ruling, hoping to show the higher-ups that they've got every right to sling legal challenges at Uncle Sam. And here's the kicker. They're not just trying to patch up a hole or two. Nope, they're aiming to contest the entire shebang, the whole case dismissal. It's like saying, hey, Fifth Circuit, we don't just want a second chance at proving our standing, we want this whole show back on the road. Now, heading to the Fifth Circuit ain't just a stroll in the park. It's a whole new ballgame, a fresh set of legal eyes looking at the case from a different angle. Will they see what the district court didn't? Will they nod their heads and say, yep, Texas, you've got the standing to carry on? This appeal is like a sequel to a Wild West showdown. The stakes are high, the tension palpable, and Texas is holding on to that appeal like it's a winning poker hand.
Democrats never once reached out to us to seek our input on the legislation we are considering here today.
Of purchasing suppressors and other firearms accessories. I'd like these questions to be answered.
Fortunately, the Department of Justice has a long history of intervening in civil cases filed by gun violence survivors to defend this law.
It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing to have a suppressor on a rifle.
Many Parkland families strongly believe that gun companies must also be held responsible for the dangerous marketing of assault weapons.
In-state exemption from federal regulations. All right, gather round and let me tell you about Texas House Bill 957, a real game changer in the Lone Star State's fight against federal suppressor regulations. This bill wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a bold statement, a Texan battle cry against Uncle Sam's rules. HB 957 wasn't your run-of-the-mill legislative jargon. It was a rebel yell, shouting from the rooftops that if a suppressor was born, raised, and stayed put within Texas borders, it wasn't going to kowtow to federal regulations. Nope, it was going to be free as a bird, exempt from the NFA-GCA rules that Uncle Sam was trying to impose. Imagine this bill as a legal shield, a fortress protecting Texas-made suppressors from the long arm of federal oversight. It said, hey, if these suppressors are Texas-born and Texas-staying, they're not going to dance to the federal tune. But you know how the saying goes, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The feds weren't too pleased about this Lone Star defiance. Cue the lawsuit against the ATF. Texas wasn't just waving HB 957 around like a flag. They were using it as ammunition in a legal showdown, challenging Uncle Sam's right to call the shots on Texas soil. This bill wasn't just ink on paper, it was the spark that lit the fire, the cornerstone of the legal battle that unfolded. It was Texas saying, we'll take matters into our own hands when it comes to our backyard. We make the rules here. HB 957 was the rallying cry, the foundation upon which the Lone Star Rebels stood, saying they'd be damned if anyone told them what to do within their own state lines. It's a classic tale of state sovereignty versus federal oversight, and this bill was at the heart of that clash.
Glad to have you here. I got involved with suppressors
Unfortunately, the Department of Justice has a long history of intervening in civil cases filed by gun violence survivors to defend this law.
Democrats never once reached out to us to seek our input on the legislation we are considering here today.
The law provides broad immunity against civil lawsuits unique to the gun industry.
Standing issues and potential legal implications. The whole shebang about standing. Now let's break it down. Picture a judge pounding the gavel and saying, "Sorry folks, no standing here." And that was the hitch that tripped up the Lone Star Rebels in this legal rodeo. The judge wasn't just whistling Dixie. They wanted hard evidence, not just wild theories or maybes. To establish standing, you needed more than just a hunch or a what if. Nope, you needed to prove that Uncle Sam's actions caused you real harm, like a bullseye on your back. But here's the kicker. The plaintiffs didn't bring that smoking gun to court. The judge wanted a concrete injury, like someone waving around an illegal Texas-made suppressor and the ATF breathing down their neck. It was all about showing that Uncle Sam's actions were directly causing trouble in Texas town. Without that kind of proof, the judge wasn't having it. It was like trying to ride a bronco without a saddle. No stability, no case. So why is this standing thing such a big deal? Well, without it, the whole legal show gets shut down faster than a Texas twister. And that's exactly what happened. The judge sent everyone packing, because without standing, there's no legal fight. But hold on to your Stetsons, because the Lone Star Rebels ain't done yet. They hitched their wagon to an appeal, taking their case to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and that's where the plot thickens. This ain't just about the Lone Star State, it's about the potential impact on the whole shebang, those NFA GCA regulations on suppressors. The Fifth Circuit's decision? It's like the Wild West's fate hanging in the balance. Depending on how they see it, those federal rules could either tighten their grip or loosen their reins on Texas-made suppressors. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.